Here's something that trips up every gardener at some point. You reach down, you grab a weed, and you pull, and the top comes off in your hand, but the bottom stays in the ground. 2 weeks later, it's back, and guess what? Sometimes it brings its friends. It wasn't how hard you pulled, it was the kind of weed it was. Some pull out easily with one clean tug. Others seem to be designed to break off at ground level and grow from whatever little piece you left behind. Before we talk about how to get rid of the weed, we have to learn how to identify it, because the type of weed we have is how we are going to determine how to make it disappear forever. Since I was out weeding my garden 2 days ago, I thought I'd talk today about weeds while you watch me tame a tiny section of my wild garden space. A weed is just a plant growing where you don't want it. That's really the whole definition. A tomato seedling coming up in the middle of your carrot row is a weed in that moment. And here's a point I want to bring up early. Not every weed is your enemy. Some of them are edible, some feed pollinators, some are actually telling you something useful about your soil. So when I say weed, I don't necessarily mean bad plant. I mean plant I need to make a decision about. The first step in that decision is always the same. Figure out what it is. The single most useful thing you can know about a weed is its life cycle, because that's what determines how it fights back. There are 3 types. Number 1, annual weeds live their whole life in one season. They sprout, grow, flower, drop seed, and die all in 1 year. Crabgrass and lamb's quarters are good examples. The plant itself is easy to kill. The catch is the seeds. A single annual weed can drop thousands of seeds, and those seeds can sit in your soil waiting to sprout for years. So with annuals, your real job is stopping them before they go to seed. Number 2, biennial weeds. They take 2 years. The first year they grow low, often as a flat rosette of leaves close to the ground. The second year they send up a stalk, flower, set seed, and finish. Bull thistle and common burdock work this way. The trick with biennials is catching them in that first year while they're still a low rosette and haven't put energy into seeds yet. Perennial weeds are the ones that come back year after year from the same root system. The top of the plant may die back in fall, but the roots survive underground and push up new growth every spring. Dandelion, quackgrass, Canada thistle, and field bindweed are all perennials. These are the weeds that break off when you pull them because they've got deep tap roots, creeping underground stems, or little storage tubers that hand-pulling leaves behind. Perennials are the ones people mean when they say a weed is impossible to get rid of. So with annuals, you're racing the seeds. Biennials, you're catching year 1. Perennials, you're dealing with the roots. These are 3 completely different problems. Now, how do you actually tell what you've got? You look at 4 things: leaves, stems, flowers, and roots. Leaves first. The big divide here is broadleaf versus grass-like. Broadleaf weeds have wider leaves, usually with a main vein down the middle and smaller veins branching off it. Think dandelion or plantain. Grass-like weeds have long, narrow leaves with veins running parallel down the length, like the blades of your lawn. That one distinction sorts a huge number of weeds into 2 buckets right away. Beyond that, notice the shape. Is the leaf heart-shaped, arrowhead-shaped, lobed, spiny along the edges? Those details narrow it down fast. Stems next, and this is where one of my favorite tricks lives. If something looks like grass, roll the stem between your fingers. A true grass stem is round. But if you feel 3 flat sides, a triangle, you're not holding a grass at all. You're holding a sedge, and in the garden that almost always means nutsedge. Flowers help too when they're present. Bindweed has funnel-shaped white or pink flowers like a little morning glory. Thistles have those tufted purple flower heads. Flowers are a strong confirming clue, though the trouble is that by the time a weed is flowering, it's often already working on its seed. So flowers help you name it, but they're a sign you're running late on removal. And finally, roots, which really matter most for how you'll deal with the thing. A single deep taproot, like a dandelion, means you need to get under it and lever the whole root out. A creeping rhizome, like quackgrass, means underground stems running sideways, and every fragment you leave behind can start a new plant. And tubers, like nutsedge, are little underground storage nodes, so if you pull the top and leave the tubers, it just comes right back. The root tells you the strategy for removal. Let me talk about the 5 weeds that show up constantly in Zone 4 and Upper Midwest gardens. These come straight from the University of Minnesota Extension list of common perennial weeds, so if you garden around here, you will meet these. First, field bindweed. This is a twining vine with arrowhead or heart-shaped leaves and small funnel-shaped white to pink flowers. It looks almost delicate. It is not. Its roots can go down more than 10 feet, and it spreads by both seed and root, so it's one of the most stubborn weeds you'll ever deal with. I know this. I have it all over my garden due to a friend with bad straw. And one important note, it is not edible. All parts are toxic, so don't confuse it with something you'd want to forage. Second, yellow nutsedge. This one masquerades as grass, but remember the trick. Roll the stem. It's triangular. Nutsedge also tends to grow a little faster and a little more yellow-green than the grass around it, so it stands up above your lawn or bed. It spreads by those underground tubers, which is exactly why pulling it never seems to work. If you see nutsedge, it also is often a hint that your drainage is poor. Third, quackgrass, a creeping perennial grass with blue-green blades and, underground, long straw-colored rhizomes that form a dense mat that can run several feet sideways. The giveaway is at the collar, where the blade meets the stem. Quackgrass has little clasping appendages called auricles that wrap around the stem like a pair of arms. Once you learn to spot those, you can't unsee it. Here's an important word of warning. Tilling quackgrass chops the rhizomes into pieces, and each piece can grow, so tilling makes it worse, not better. Fourth, Canada thistle. Purple flower heads, spiny lobed leaves, and here's the ID key most people miss. The stem itself is smooth, with no spines. Bull thistle and other thistles have spiny winged stems. So a smooth stem plus spiny leaves points you to Canada thistle. It spreads by an extensive creeping root system, so a whole patch is often one connected plant. This one is also on Minnesota's noxious weed list, which means the state actually recommends controlling it. Fifth, perennial sowthistle, another one on the Minnesota noxious list. It has yellow, dandelion-like flowers and spiny-edged leaves, and like the others here, it spreads by creeping roots, not just seed. People often mistake it for a giant dandelion, but it grows tall and branches, and it comes back from the root. Notice the pattern across all 5. Every single one is a perennial that regenerates from its roots. That's not a coincidence. Those are exactly the weeds that earn a reputation for being impossible, and that's exactly why naming them correctly matters this much. Here's the comparison that causes the most mistakes. Grass-like weeds versus broadleaf weeds, and the sneaky sedges hiding among the grasses. Put a grass blade, a nutsedge blade, and a young broadleaf weed side by side. The broadleaf is obvious once you see the wide leaf and the branching veins. But a young grass and a young sedge can look nearly identical from above. That's the whole reason the stem rolling trick is worth its weight in gold. Round stem, it's a grass. 3-sided stem, it's a sedge. You don't need a chart, you just need your fingers. Here's why we care about this. Because grasses, sedges, and broadleaf weeds each respond differently to control. If you treat a sedge like a grass, you'll be frustrated all summer, wondering why nothing works. A dandelion needs a deep tool to lever out the taproot. For quackgrass and thistle spread by roots, the correct approach is to keep removing the tops to slowly starve the root system. Nutsedge needs you to get the tubers, not just the leaves. And an annual like crabgrass is mostly about pulling it before it goes to seed. Same garden, 4 completely different game plans. If you don't know which weed you're looking at, you're guessing at the method. And with the perennials especially, the wrong method doesn't just fail, it can make the problem bigger. So what did I just plant in that bed? Yeah, I forgot to turn on the camera so you won't see it, but I planted some golden wax beans because I still have time. It's only the 30th of June. And I had about 7 calypso beans left from my gardener from last year. So I'm going to give it a try. We're going to see what happens. In the next video, we're going to flip this around and talk about the weeds you actually might want to keep. The edible ones, the beneficial ones, the ones the pollinators will be so thankful for. I'm Carol from Almost 2 Acres, a senior gardener in Zone 4. Until next time, let's get growing.